I'm not having much luck. I just realised I had my microphone muted for the start of the race. So that is why you could not hear me. So we are all back 100% running now. Hopefully the rest of the night will be a lot luckier and won't have any internet dropouts or computer freezes again to attend to. But Gallon doing quite well. Bertie was closing in that gap. We did see that gap get to about 1.5 seconds. He's now pushed that lead out to 4 seconds. That'll be beneficial for Gallon to try and further his lead on the championship. So halfway through the race, D-Train a little bit behind Bertie now, so down to 8 seconds behind second position. And we have Corby and Mersey Blue. Corby does have a quite heavily damaged car. It is interesting only seeing Weaven head off into the pits to attend to his repairs. From in-stream when I was jumping into cockpit, I was actually talking about trying to see just who may have some quite heavy suspension damage that could be affecting the steering. So we did see Whacked Will fighting the steering wheel quite a bit, that was shuddering side to side going down pit straight. Psycho's car and Corby's seem to be doing alright, as he wasn't fighting with that steering too much. Still getting a nice line, so I think it's mostly just aerodynamic damage to Corby's car. And Azuro's taken a time penalty. He's taken 2 seconds, so that's 2 slowdowns ignored for Azuro. We did see him drop down a fair few positions from early on in the race. And Psycho's front bar barely hanging on. I don't think... Oh, he is going to bring that into the pits. He's had enough of trying to contend with it. I think that incident at the start, and there's Psycho definitely making sure he was doing the speed limit in time, and there's his invisible pit crew coming out to meet him. And Whacked Wheel moving over, allowing Weaven to get through. Whacked Wheel would be definitely finding some issues with the car's performance. He has some significant aero damage to that car. His windscreen isn't as smashed up as the others, but losing that rear wing and the state of that front bar will definitely be causing some cornering issues for him, especially on the faster corners. So a significant disadvantage. Oh, it looks like, I think Psycho... it's his only 2-second time penalty. I just think he may have received a time penalty for speeding in the pits. But he probably had a slowdown before entering into the pits and served him with that there, most likely. Psycho has had bad lucks with DQs for entering pits too quickly. I think there would have been a fair few WTFs thrown around at the start of the race by the drivers in that chaos that ensued, from Weaven having to duck around very quickly from avoiding contact to the rear of Gallen's car as he got away quite delayed off the lights, and the rest of them got off to a very good start. And we have a Zero honing in on Corby at the moment. Corby does have a slightly damaged car to that front end. It'll be a very interesting replay to look back on. And Zero doing another strange spin. I don't know if that's the same spot we just saw before. I was saying when, unfortunately, I had the microphone muted, it was as if the car just suddenly stopped and did a spin. It was very weird. Not sure if that was a lag issue going on for Azuro. At this stage, I think it may be safe to say that Gallen 350 will take the win for the first race of round 4 tonight, with 3 laps remaining and nearly pushing that lead to 5 seconds. He receives a loud cheer from a very loud stadium on pit straight. And G-Train is slipping behind quite quickly from Bertie. I think it looks like, yes, it looks like Bertie is actually starting to close that time in a little bit. Gallen maybe taking a little bit easier out the front. I don't think he can back off just yet. We'll see who's got fastest lap of the race so far. It's a 1:39.936, and that's been taken by Gallen. If he maintains that, that will be a good amount of points for Gallen in the first session for tonight's round. That'll be pole, win and fastest lap. And Wackwell still out. He has not brought that car in for repairs. We'll jump on board just so you can see. We did see him along pit straight before, which I realised I wasn't talking during it. You can see that middle marker on the steering wheel shuddering a fair bit side to side, so that car is struggling and the speed is definitely going to be quite low compared to the rest of them. So that's Vert Wheeler going past. But you can see very big difference in speed. Oh, and a big broad slide for Vert Wheeler, so he doesn't lose a position for that, as Vert Wheeler is being lapped at this stage. The cars are the Ferrari Series 488 Challengers. They're quite nice cars to actually drive around in. Quite nippy, and they handle very well. They handle the technical tracks quite nicely. And that looks like Psycho just being lapped by Gallen. You can see why we were seeing Birdie starting to close in on Gallen. Gallen's last lap was a 1:41. He has the fastest lap of a 1:39. And we saw them setting consistent 1:39 times through practice and through that little bit of qualifying that we did get to see before the stream cut out. And you can see Gallen starting to further that lead a little bit more. He's pushed that up to 3.5 nearly, but that did cost him. He had to correct himself coming back onto that corner. Well, jumping on board with them for the practice, you can see that it's quite hard to see your way through that corner, especially if your field of view is quite close up in the cockpit as well. We have Corby with a significantly damaged car. We're seeing him drop down through the ranks. He was managing to stay relatively okay up towards the top, as was a Zero, but a Zero seemed to be having a few strange weird spin outs, where the car looked like it was just stopping and spinning. Plenty of rubber left at those grid starts from that chaos at the start of the race. That's probably the most involved start in Apex's history so far. We've been doing it for about 5-6 months now. And a Zero again spinning off. Not sure what's going on with his car. I'm not sure if he may have sustained a little bit of damage at the start. Yeah, if you didn't get to see the start of the race, Fritz, it was complete carnage at the start. We had a delayed start from Gallen, who started in pole, and Weaven was right behind him in third positions. Here comes Gallen for the finish. Flashing the lights, his trademark across the line. Brilliant win for Gallen. And then Bertie crosses as well. D-Train coming up. Yes, So as Weaven avoided shunting the rear of Gallen, he had to dive out of the way and then made contact with another car, and then the rest of the field basically piled up and put Whacked Will on his roof. So a lot of damage. And here comes D-Train, congratulations, podium finish. Zero's just got ahead of Mersey Blue, who's recovered after that spin. 60 seconds remain to finish last laps. Zero finishes in 4th position. Mersey Blue following in behind in 5th. Corby pushing, almost catching up for a 6th position. And Waven 777 coming up in 7th. He has 40 seconds to get the car across the line. I think he can. And on pit straight now. Not much luck for Weaven in this race tonight. And there we have it. So the sprint race is complete. So the first race for round 4 at Fuji GP, we have Gallen 350 taking the victory. And I think he has also claimed the fastest lap. Yes, he has, a 1:39.936. So a clean sweep in the first session of tonight's round. Also on the podium we have Birdie 10:35 in 2nd and Mr. D-Train Barbado in 3rd. The rest of the field we see Azuro 1:43, Mersey Blue, Corby 387, Weaven 777, Psychogency, Vert Wheeler 07 and Whacked Will 3. So very unfortunate for Whacked Will. We saw him take a while to get that car back onto the track. He's stuck on his roof for quite a while, and he's only new to the sim racing, so he would have had to have worked out what he had set for a car reset if he had done one at all to try and get that car back onto its wheels. So he obviously did get that in there as he got that car back around. So we'll be having a 7-minute break. So we'll be back at 8:37 and we'll be back for session 2. So we'll have another 15-minute qualifier and then back for the main race, which we see 20 laps around Fuji GP with mandatory pit, and with the carnage we saw at the start, could be some exciting stuff happening. Hopefully it'll be rather clean and get to see some good fierce battles throughout those 20 laps. So stay tuned, we'll be back shortly, and should be 8:37 Australian Eastern Daylight Time. See you soon. And we are back for session 2 for round 4 of the Ferrari Series 488 challenge. So hopefully we will have no technical issues and me forgetting to turn my mic back on after having to run off the other end of the house to fix said technical issues. So missed some great commentary of me getting rather excited about the absolute carnage that ensued at the start. So we almost had half the field not even get across the start line before being taken out, which is not a good start for our debut racer tonight, Whacked Will. So drivers were just joking in the lobby saying welcome to the league to Whacked Will, and saying that's the worst we've had for a start out of our series in these 6 months that we've been doing it. And Gallon 350 was quite happy with his result, taking a pole position, race win and fastest lap. So that sees him secure some nice points for the first section of tonight's round. So for pole position you get 20 points in the sprint race, a win is worth 30, and then it's 5 bonus points, so he's just secured himself another 55 points. And Corby unfortunately spun out early on in that as well, and he was the one chasing Gallon in the championship. So Gallon did need to try and secure a strong position well ahead of Corby to defend his position. So for qualifying in this session, same points again, 20 points is up for grab for pole position. However, the race with the 20 laps, a victory is worth 60 points, so it's double that of the sprint. And then for next week, for the final round, it's only one race, so we'll have a longer endurance race, and then a victory there is 120 points. So for Gallon to retain his position as the leader, he'll need to finish quite strongly. He was talking about, because he's got to go away, I think he's actually heading off to go to see the Bathurst 1000. He is talking about bringing his PlayStation and attempting to conquer the race with the controller. And even if he doesn't perform too strongly, I think that could be a good option to try and do. As a victory in this race for the second session, 60 points. Its equivalent is finishing 5th in the final race. Yeah, he's definitely lucky getting to head off to it. We did have Weaven 777 miss out on one of the rounds of the Bathurst Challenge that we did. I think it was the first one, and then also the round 2 for the Ferrari series of this. And Weaven was actually at the track for a holiday for the week. Yeah, there's a lot of people who's made it their regular thing, and people have been doing it for decades, going and watching it and camping, and then now not allowed to do it. Weather conditions are different again for this qualifying session. I'll bring up what they are. So for qualifying, game time is 1 o'clock. So weather heavy cloud as it was in that sprint race. Game time for it was 11 o'clock. So it will be slightly lower track temp still. That's probably a good idea, Giddo. They'll get out for the camp. I usually like to get out and do a good spot of camping, usually in the winter months, but a lot of the national parks and campsites around where I am were all closed off because of bushfires that went through end of last year, and then after the COVID lockdowns it blocked it all off again, so there'd been a lot of missed opportunities to head out. Yeah, there hasn't been a year that I don't miss seeing the race for Bathurst. I'm usually quite lucky. It usually falls on my birthday, so it's usually been an extra big event for Bathurst. .1:39's for first times. It's pretty respectable times coming in for their first laps. Whacked wheel still yet to head out. Psycho is out on the track. We were slightly delayed getting in. Psycho hadn't come back to the lobby. I think he was still out on a smoke break. So we did just have to jump back in and wait for him. Oh, and a little bit too quick coming into that corner. And here we go. A 1:38 has come in with Gallon 350. Gallon is very focused to try and take another pole position and win again, I think, for tonight. Cheers, thanks for the birthday wish. And it looks like D-Train just in front of Gallant. He's having some troubles with the car by the looks of things. I think he's bringing that in. He's not happy with that setup. Whacked wheel is rolling out of the pits. Not sure what's going on there. He's hit ready. He's probably away from his screen. Sure if the car's going to come to a stop. It looks pretty weird seeing that car just inch forward without the tyres actually turning. This game loves to do lots of weird things. And have been noticing a lot of the cars, I have seen it a little bit before on these cars in the previous rounds as well, where it looks like they're fighting the car a fair bit through some of the corners. It looks like the steering is darting back and forth. Yeah, I was going to say maybe Whacked Wheel is a little bit cautious. He's going to take it very easy getting out, making sure no one's around to get him. He wants to stay clear of everyone as much as possible. He'll probably try and qualify at the back of the field just to stay away from everyone and let them head off and destroy each other. Did see him doing rather well in the race despite having the significant aero damage. So missing that rear spoiler was really affecting that car down that very long pit straight and then also through those faster corners. So having a car much tidier will be very good. And we saw Psycho as well starting to set some quite good pace after he'd brought that car in and got those repairs done during that first race. Oh, and he's just run off. And we saw some weird stuff going on with the Zero's car in the sprint race. He's taking it very cautiously. If he's had a slowdown. He may have been having to adjust a few things. Zero did start to drop positions quite quickly. The race, he got away pretty cleanly at the start and managed to escape a lot of that carnage. And then was at the top of the field, but then a lot of weird things going on with his car, just stopping, spinning, and then he was really struggling to fight that car through the corners. I don't know if his setup may have reverted just before the race, but he was setting very good consistent laps through the practice and qualifying. And that is a glitch that occurs with this game. It does like to revert to different car setups. And hopefully Weaven gets off to a better start to this next race as well. Last qualifying we had Gallen, Corby and Weaven qualify in the top three. And that's what we did see last week as well. And then they finished in those same positions in the top three also. Oh, a little bit too much going through. Resets that car around. That'll invalidate his time for this one. There's 4 minutes remaining of qualifying. Nosy Blue a little bit off pace, so far 5 seconds separating the field. Wackwheel needs to get a time on the board. That might just be him deciding to steer clear of all these other guys. Oh, that's unfortunate for Mersey Blue, spinning off and a hard hit. Yes, he'll need to bring that car in. He's got time to quickly get it out and be able to set in another lap. So the later afternoon times and the heavy cloud making the track a little bit slippery. But seeing Gallen set a 1:38.5 is pretty decent considering the low track temperatures. Maxwell having some issues with the car. A little bit slippery for him coming out of that corner. And Psycho, we'll see what Psycho's last lap. That's very weird. It says he's done a 1:03 as his last lap, but his best lap's a 1:40. Something very odd going on. We can see Psycho definitely get that car into the 1:39s for qualifying. He's cutting some very good pace in that back end of the first race. And Gallen's brought the car back into the pits. He did have his lap time invalidated. He may have made some wall contacts to bring it in. He definitely could have an opportunity to get that car back out for another time. Corby also, he may no, I don't think he's going to have an opportunity, no. This lap won't be completed in time for him to get around and cross the line before it has last lap. As there's only 1:25 remaining. And Corby is usually good at stealing pole position on the last lap, but I don't think he'll be able to get an opportunity to do so. The rest of the cars on the field will be able to do that. Zero's brought that car in. That'll be his fastest time set. That's up to the rest of the field. Gallen's just run off wide. He'll be fine if this is his out lap. He just needs to get across that start line before the countdown finishes. Dirty flying down that straight, ready to go into this almost double hairpin. It's a very strained S. on board with Bertie. Very interesting line. He just took staying out rather wide so he can try and take that apex a lot quicker. Will he improve that time? He's about to cross the line. No, it doesn't improve, so he's currently in 4th position. There's 110 seconds remaining for drivers to get last laps. We have a few cars out on the track. I think Gallen managed to just get the car across. And Psycho really pushing that car, cutting that corner almost. Race speed didn't say he exceeded the limits. I have a feeling Psycho may be able to get an extra second off his time here. On board with Psycho. Oh, he's off par so far for his lap time. Up to Psycho and Bertie and try and potentially steal away a pole position. There's 55 seconds remaining. As you can see here, it's hard to find that apex in that view. Comes flying onto pit straight. Will he improve that 1:44.60? That last sector needs to have been quicker as he was 0.260 off par. He crosses the line. No, doesn't improve. It's up to Bertie to try and steal away, so I think Gallen may be safe. He can only just improve that time. I think Bertie seems to be taking it rather easy. It doesn't sound flat out. He may be having an AI drive that car around. Yes, definitely. Oh, and Gallen's wrecked it, so of course a burnout in good fashion. But he has taken pole position for the second race for round 4. So off to a good start. They're setting a 1:38.573, a very nice time for qualifying. Starting at the front also is a 0:143. Corby 387 in 3rd, Bertie in 4th, Weaver in 5th, Psycho in 6th, D-Train in 7th, Mersey Blue in 8th, Vert Wheel in 9th, and Whacked Wheel in 10th. So hopefully a much better start to the race for this one and not a repeat of the first race. And I was actually curious to see what the go with that stop sign is at the front of the track there. You can see the little hand up from, that's what it looks like. It's usually what you see from the pit crews when you pull in. I don't know if we can see it. Yeah, it seems to be misplaced artifact. Yeah, it's a bit of a glitch. That sign isn't actually really there. Drivers need to ensure they adjust their setups accordingly for it. Make sure they got the fuel load for the 20 laps. It is mandatory pit, so they will be required to use that as part of their strategy. And weather is heavy cloud to overcast. Game session time is 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The track temperatures will continue to drop as the race goes on. As fatigue starts to set into the drivers, they will need to ensure they are quite focused. Once all drivers have hit ready, the game will get ready and sync up, and then we'll be ready to go. Hopefully, definitely a better start for Whacked Wheel. Here we go, ready to get this race underway. Countdown happens. And it's green on. It's a jump start by Azuro. That's going to have to serve a drive-through for sure. D-Train's had to run off track, getting around what looks like it may have been Weaven. Yes, Weaven's fallen to the back. Azuro's gotten well ahead, but I'm pretty sure that's a jump start. So his opportunity now to try and make up for the jump start. He's going to have to scream ahead of the rest of the field. Corby's also moved up. Gallen's pole position taken away. And we have Bertie honing in on Gallen quite quickly. Gallen's going to be feeling some pressure with Bertie closing in quite quickly onto his car. And most likely drivers noticing a little bit of a difference with their car as they will be running definitely different fuel loads. These cars are quite nimble when they are only moderately fueled. Heavier fuel loads will make it much harder to pull through these very technical corners at Fuji GP. But Bertie slipping back a little bit off Gallen now. So Gallen's starting to close that gap in onto Corby. He needs to try and get ahead with Corby. D-Train's just run off wide. That's disallowed Weaven to climb back up. Psycho's doing reasonably well in 5th position, but Weaven is closing in on him. And there goes Azuro into the... I don't know if I can keep up with him to serve his drive-through penalty. So that was a jump start for sure. And looked like we had Gallen attempting to make a move on Corby. Corby blocking him, moving back over onto the driving line. And starting to get a little bit of pace away from that as well. Psycho's moved up into 4th position. Weaven now in 5th. Otherwise, it's been a clean start. Lap 2. No carnage this time around. Gallen braking rather late, getting right up. It was only about an inch difference between the two cars. I'm not getting sector time, so I can't see just whereabouts the differences are between these guys at the moment. You can see Corby pull away at different points. We didn't get to see Corby drive that car to its full potential in the sprint race. He was driving a wounded car. So I think Corby could definitely be some strong competition for Gallen in this race. Weaven looking to make a move down pit straight. He's going to have to get on the brakes. He's going to have to tuck back in behind Psycho here, I think. Oh, side by side through the bend. Bit of rubbing, couple of nudges, almost pushing Psycho off. Psycho ducked back in behind Weaven. That was some very tight elbow-to-elbow racing. Azuro is back into the pits again. He's not sure what's going on. But he's just gone through the lap before to serve his drive-through. He's now getting some changes done to his car. Not sure if he's had a weird setup load up on him. Psycho starting to slip away from Weaven. Weaven's now gotten ahead. We have Mersey Blue and D-Train starting to compete for 6th position. I think Mersey Blue is closing that gap in rather quickly. And hitting those ripple strips through that section of the track, you need to be very cautious for these cars. It is actually quite a high camber and it can actually put them into a spin quite easily. We actually did see Mersey Blue in qualifying spin out in that area for that same reason. And here we have Bertie closing in on Gallen. Gallen ducking off to the side to try and break the slipstream. He's going all the way off to the wall along pit lane, trying to break Bertie's stream. In doing that as well, does also lose his opportunity for a stream from Corby, who's only just 1.5 seconds ahead of him. But needs to be a cautious tactic to duck and weave like that to try and break the slipstream. Oh, I think Bertie's looking for an opportunity to get through on Gallen. Oh, what's happening with Gallen? Something's gone on. He's had to weave off for a second. That's just cost him a fair bit of time. We now have Bertie less than 1.5 seconds and quickly catching up in Corby. Oh, a little bit of a slide from Bertie as he powers on through the corner. And Weaven, and look out for Weaven, he is catching up to the front of the field very quickly. A little bit of correction coming back through that corner. Bertie not quite getting too far ahead of Gallen. Gallen's now closing that gap back in. Bertie not using the same tactics as Gallen to try and break that stream. Even Weaven would be getting some advantage of a slipstream from back there. He's now in 4th position. And Corby is not safe just yet. And of course, pit strategy is going to play a very integral part to claiming a victory out of this race tonight. And in goes Vert Wheeler. Oh, that's a cut there. I think that'll be giving a slowdown to Corby. We'll have a look at and see what's happening with Vert Wheeler. Doesn't look like any damage. Well, looks like Gallen's slipping back a fair bit. Oh, a nudge by Bertie into Corby. Corby was quite heavy under braking coming into that corner. I'm not sure if that was just the game loading Bertie's lights or if he's flashing lights at Corby potentially. These three are closing in. I think there is going to be a very tight battle for first position from these three. And Weaven is quickly catching up as well onto these three. Yeah, and we're seeing Bertie and Gallen quickly come in from the advantage of that slipstream. Oh, an inside attempt. Oh, there's contact rubbing through the bend. Could have been chaos into turn 1. I think Gallen needs to try and play it safe at this stage before he contemplates trying to make a move. I think Bertie must be playing with those lights that come on and off a few times. Probably just making himself known to Corby. This is where we saw a nudge before, and Gallen's run off wide. Almost ran through. And Psycho back in the distance there, cutting that corner and taking out one of those cones. He was starting to close that gap in, so there's a bit of a difference in the field from 5th to 6th. There's 13 seconds separating Psycho and Mersey Blue. Oh, he's going for an inside pass. It's not going to be enough speed coming out of the corner, going that tight round that hairpin. There's some very nice driving from our race leaders. Gallen is falling behind and Weaven closing in very quickly. Oh, and Gallen's just run off wide. Again, that's going to allow Weaven to almost take that position. Gallen gets back in just in front of Weaven. That could have ended badly for both of them if he had been that a little bit slower getting back on track. But I think Weaven is going to try and make a move on Gallen. Gallen's struggling with that car at the moment. Weaven needs to quickly move over just in case Gallen entered into a slide. Weaven gets past safely. Not sure what's going on with Gallen's car at the moment. He's just off focus, or that car is just performing slightly different for him. Oh, that is tight. Oh no! That's going to take a lot to recover. Weaven moves past that nice and safe. Gallen looking to make a pass, but it goes into that broad slide. The Psycho is now into 4th position. Gallen slips back into 5th. A bit offline coming out of that corner. Gallen making opportunity for it and then runs wide again. That's where we saw Gallen run wide as well and then re-enter just before Weaven. A little bit of time to try and make up for these two to catch back up. We got Bertie closing in that gap. He was just under a second. Corby and Bertie doing some spectacular driving. While there is a little bit of a gap, we might have a look and see what lap times they are doing. The fastest lap, 1:39.844, and that's set by Weaven. That is why we saw him moving up those ranks very quickly. And Gallen and Psycho competing for 4th position at the moment. We saw Gallen run wide and enter into a spin in this section a couple of times. A little bit offline. That allows Psycho to gain a little bit more ground ahead of Gallen, 350 at this stage. Bertie's closing that gap again. I think he should be able to get that to about 0.3 with advantage of slipstream coming along pit straight. That is dropping in. Colby trying to break stream. I thought I just saw a yellow car dart off. The Gallen making the most of going in and getting his mandatory pit served now. But these guys will need to pit yet. Gallen's tactic now will need to be ensuring he gets... Oh, and Bertie does an inside pass. There is a slight nick as Corby gets back around. That was a good solid scratch on the way past that could have entered out into a spin for the two of them. All of these guys are very tight. Half a second separating them. They're starting to catch up on some back markers. That looks like Vert Wheeler's car. Bertie could hope that Corby may get caught up in traffic and could potentially allow an opening for him to get around. Now coming onto pit straight. Corby has furthered that lead. We're now halfway through the race. We need Corby to be able to get past Vert Wheeler cleanly and safely. Very different lines taken by Corby and Bertie through that bend. So Vert Wheeler taking the same line as Corby. I'm not sure if Bertie was just slightly off around that bend or if that's his usual line. But that's where we're seeing Corby, I think, get ahead just that little bit more. Vert Wheeler's gone off wide. That was fortunate for Corby. Unlucky for Bertie as it didn't slow things down for him. He's going to have to try and close that gap and put some pressure on Corby, see if he can force an error. Oh, and then Bertie's just gone up over and hit a cone on that corner. I don't think it will be a slowdown. No drivers seem to have been given any slowdowns at this stage. Weaven also gets past Vert Wheeler, who would have just been shown the blue flag. I think that's Corby peeling off into the... No, it wasn't Corby peeling off into the pits. That was Bertie peeled off into the pits. At least the pit crews aren't invisible at this stage. Corby now needing to try and get a good couple of fast laps in before he has to come in and serve his mandatory pit. If you're joining us for the chat, be sure to let us know who you think is going to claim victory in this race. Will Corby manage to continue this lead and take the win in the main race tonight? Don't forget to use the controls down below our stream as well to play sound effects and have some fun over the stream. And if you're new to watching our streams or you are a regular watcher but don't follow, don't forget to hit that follow button. We are trying to reach our next milestone of 50 followers. I think we've only got 4 or 5 more to go until we reach that goal. And you can head to the social links that's listed on the screen down below. There's our Facebook page. So you can follow all your favourite drivers in their series, see how they're going for results, check out incident reports, and then you can head over to YouTube and subscribe to us there. All our past broadcasts get saved there. So due to Bertie and Gallen pitting, we've now seen Weaver and Psycho move into 2nd and 3rd position respectively. And Mersey Blue is starting to catch back up to D-Train again. We saw that a little bit earlier as well. And a new addition to Apex Esports League, we have launched the Android app. It's not on iOS store, as Apple likes to charge monthly fees just to have the app in there, so it's not something we'll be doing just yet. So Mersey Blues looks like he's peeling off to pit. We'll need to shave that speed off before the red cones, so he doesn't get a pit speed violation. Done nicely. Corby's still out. Weaven also needs the pit, so does Psycho. I think it's adding about 20 seconds to a pit stop. So Corby should be fine to probably this lap and then get back out in time. It'll be interesting to see if he doesn't pit this lap. No, he's going to stay out for another lap. Going to try and further his lead as long as his times are on par. So his best lap's a 140, last lap a 146.24, so he is doing quite well. The lap before was a 141 before it just changed. So he's doing quite well at the moment in the current conditions. And there goes Weaven, he's making his mandatory pit. Looks like he's had a bit of a scrape to that car at some stage. Psycho moves up into second position. He does need to pit as well. A pit will see him drop a position. Times have gone all skewed. Right. I think he may only lose one position potentially. Gallen now moving back up through the ranks. He's catching up to Mr. D Train. He will also need to pit as well. I don't think we've seen him head in. Big shake of the camera as the cars go flying by. Don't know, I think they could see Gallen pass him in the next couple of corners. We saw Gallen a little bit out of form at the start of the race, seeing him drop a few spots. And Psycho's just received a time penalty. Oh, it's a very tight corner. D-Train Barbado, I'm not sure if he was forced to run wide out of that or if that was already running wide before we see Gallen get past. That Gallen is through and now back up into 5th position. And we've seen Weaven pit. We need Corby and Psycho to pit. I think Bertie has potentially already pit. Yes, we did see Birdie pit, so he has served his mandatory. But Corby is doing pretty good times. So his last lap still quickest out of most of the cars on the field. He'll need to start considering pitting very soon though. There is only 6 laps remaining. And I didn't see, have a look, see, yeah, Psycho's received a 1 second time penalty for slowdown. It's not going to be too drastic for him over the course of the race with the current time differences. So in goes Mr. D-Train for his mandatory pit. We have Gallen starting to close in on Weaven. These two are fighting for a position here. They've both served their mandatory pits. Gallen to try and get a nice lead on the championship. He's going to need to try and move up a couple more positions. It looks like a Zero's just received a slowdown time penalty as well. Surprisingly, we didn't see any in the first race. It was quite good. If it wasn't for the crashes at the start of the race, it would have been a very tidy race. And Corby is flying ahead. And if his tyres are handling quite well and he can do a stop and go and doesn't need to add any fuel in, have a look and see just how much fuel he's got in his car. Now he's got enough fuel to get through easily. and then some. So if his tyres are holding out, he's got 16 seconds over Psycho, who also needs to pit, and he still is deciding not to pit. He's going to be pitting in the last couple of laps. Corby is doing some amazing driving. So conditions are going to overcast at the moment, as you can see. And the race started at 2 in the afternoon, and time progression is ×2. And it's usually about 40 minutes for a race. So it's late afternoon times, so lap times will start to slow down towards the back end of this race. I think we'll need to see Corby decide to pit this lap, especially where he's catching up to some back markers, so that he doesn't avoid, so he can avoid potentially being slowed up by these guys, because he's a bit off pace at the moment. I think he needs to get this car in this lap, so these cars do not slow him up through Sector 1. See if he's going to move over. No, he's going to stay out yet. Very interesting indeed. He's going to leave it up to the last couple of laps to squeeze in this pit. So obviously tyres aren't a concern for him. Here comes Psycho serving his mandatory pit. Oh, a little bit slippery, was making wall contact entering the pits. As long as he didn't come in too quickly there. Oh, he's just received... No, it's just another slowdown that he's got. So Zero's got 3 seconds. Oh, Corby has spun out. That's unfortunate for him. Luckily he's had that little bit of extra safety net. Don't think that's going to be too drastic of damage, but the time advantage he had for a pit stop could be very tight now. So there's big opportunity for mistakes to be made coming into the end of the race. He's done some pretty solid driving throughout this session. I think we'll see him head in this lap now. It'll not only just give him a brief moment to recoup himself to head out for the last couple of laps. But he is 26 seconds behind. So for a pit stop's going to cost him 20 to 25 seconds for a stop and go. There is opportunity for him to just get out in front. So Gallen's reclaimed back up into third position after Psycho's peeled off to serve his mandatory pit. And there here comes Corby now, he's into the pits. And that looks like whacked Will as well heading in there. His car looks to be crab walking a little bit. Yeah, that's a very quick stop and go for Corby. So here comes Bertie. You can see him flying up on the map there. Here's the arrow coming up. Corby is going to narrowly get out in time. I don't think it's going to be time. Bertie's going to get ahead. Yes, Bertie now climbs into first position. That's a little spin out and hit by Corby. Could have potentially cost him the win. He peels off in time in front of Gallen. We're getting weird time data. It says, oh, here we go, it's just caught up. Corby was showing as a minute 34 behind the leader, however Gallen was 9 seconds. And Gallen has 4 seconds behind Corby. Gallen needs to try and secure points over Corby. He did have luck by Corby finishing towards the back end of the field in the first race, but this race is worth more points. I don't think Gallen can reclaim 5 seconds in the last couple laps. This definitely could be a win for Bertie now. We have a 0 closing in on Weaven 777 at this stage. And much quicker coming through that bend over Weaven. Oh, bit of a nudge. Yeah, 0 has done quite well, Giddo. We saw some weird stuff going on with him in that first race. I think there may have been a little bit of lag that may have been interfering with him. So very different lines. Weaven going out quite wide and then crossing back in, cutting off a 0. So that's forced him to brake on and lose out on that exit speed onto pit straight. I think he can reclaim a bit of time with the slipstream as he hoons down here. Yes, there's some big significance in difference to the cars. I'm not sure if there is some aero damage, and that car of Weaven's is shuddering a fair bit as he is under braking. I wonder if fuel loads are playing a part. Zero is running 9 litres of fuel at this stage. So not much difference in fuel loads. It's only a difference of a litre between the two. So Zero's done well. He's moved up into 5th position. I think with the state of Weaven's car, I think he'll be safe unless he makes a mistake. Yeah, and definitely done well. So he had to serve that drive-through. And then him heading back in that next lap after serving the drive-through penalty from the jump start, getting that mandatory pit out of the way, I think was quite lucky for him. So he's just been able to keep at it and pick people off as he goes throughout the rest of the race. Oh, a slide for Psycho. Can he recover? That was very lucky. He nearly speared that off into that inside wall. So he's currently 7 seconds behind 3rd position. Zero's 8 seconds behind. I'm not sure if Zero will be able to reclaim 8 seconds. They both do have time penalties as well. So Zero currently has 3 seconds, Psycho 4 seconds. If Weaven can stay hot on the tail of Zero, he could potentially reclaim a position back off him in way of time penalty. And here we go, we have Bertie on the final lap of the race. I think he will be able to claim a win for the main race of round 4 of the championship. Mr. D-Train looking to pass Mersey Blue. He's got some big speed coming up on him down pit straight. Can he get around him? He's definitely got some quicker pace over Mersey at this stage. Oh, and Mersey's run off wide, but that didn't allow D-Train. He was right behind him, had nowhere to go, so he had to hold off. And Bertie's just crossed the line. He has finished the race, a victory for the second race of round 4. Corby on the podium in 2nd position. Gallen flashing lights, taking podium in 3rd. Psycho taking 4th position. He's got enough time between him and the zero. His time penalty won't cost him that position. There's 5 seconds between a 0 and Weaven, so his 3-second penalty will not affect his position. So he finishes in 5th. Weaven 777, weaving that car across the line, taking 6th position. And just checking those out there, we've had Mr. D-Train Barbado pass Mersey Blue. There's 40 seconds remaining. Yes, there'll be time for last cars to get across the line before we get the results. D-Train Barbado takes 7th position, well done. Mersey Blue crosses the line in 8th position. There's a big dive across the track. That's it, race is done. So that's round 4 concluded for the Ferrari Series 4 8-8 Challenge. Bertie 10:35 claims a victory in the second race for tonight's round. We'll have a look and see who claimed the fastest lap. It looks like a 1:39.808, and that was set by a 0:143, so that's some very quick time indeed. So also on the podium, Corby 3:87 in second, Gallen 3:50 in third. Rest of the field we have Psycho, a 0, Weaven, Mr. D-Train, Mersey Blue, Vert Wheeler, and Whacked Will. So some very exciting racing, and apologise for the technical difficulties that we had. So we'll be heading off to the final round next week, so that's Thursday night. So the series we have is, for the final round, we are at the Autodromo Nacional Monza GP, and that will just be the one race, and it usually takes about an hour of racing, so just the one main event, and big points up for grab, 120 points for a win, and I think it will be very tight for results after the strong finish with Bertie and Corby in this final race tonight. So Gallen 350 will be very close to points, I think, between Bertie and Corby. So it'll be a very fierce battle for the championship leader, and that Apex Esports League Champions Coffee Cup is up for grabs for the prize as well. And Gallen has his heart set on winning that. So it'll be a very exciting race to watch. We don't have anything on Tuesday night coming up. We're having a couple of weeks break. And we will be then doing some iRacing. So if you have a PC and want to get involved, we won't be broadcasting, as I will be racing in the first attempt at doing that. Otherwise, we will see you for the Ferrari Series finale next week on Thursday. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to hit that follow button.